And now, from 12 Studios, this is News 12 Now.
Today is Tuesday, June 11th. Welcome to News 12 Now. I'm Kylee Dedmon. New this afternoon, the jury in the Hunter Biden trial found him guilty on 3 felony gun charges. Jurors came to their decision after deliberating for only about 3 hours. Nicole Sanka has the details.
The jury in Hunter Biden's criminal gun trial has found the president's son guilty of possessing a gun while being a drug user and making false statements about his drug use when buying that gun in October 2018. Jurors reached their verdict on the first full day of deliberations. During 6 days of testimony, the jury heard from a parade of witnesses, including members of the Biden family. Jurors also heard audio excerpts from Hunter Biden's memoir.
I used my superpower, finding crack anytime, anywhere.
Prosecutors presented text messages Hunter Biden sent to his brother Beau's widow, Hallie Biden, when they were in a relationship. She testified 2 days after Hunter Biden purchased the gun. He wrote he was sleeping on a car smoking crack. Biden's defense attorney said that was a false story Hunter used as an excuse to avoid seeing Hallie. Days later, she found Hunter Biden's gun and threw it away in a dumpster. Biden's defense told the jury he considered himself in recovery and no longer a drug user when he bought the firearm. The jury, made up of 6 men and 6 women, did not ever hear directly from Hunter Biden. He chose not to take the stand. Hunter Biden's wife, the First Lady, and other relatives were fixtures in the courtroom, showing up to support him. In closing arguments, the prosecution urged the jury to ignore them and the media, adding, "People sitting in the gallery are not evidence." The president's son could face prison time. Nicole Sanka, CBS News, Wilmington, Delaware.
Turning to weather now, meteorologist Brian Briggs is joining us. Brian, all morning long you've been tracking some storms to the west of us. Is that still something we should be looking out for, or have they weakened out?
For the most part, they're weakening, and only a handful of us will get storms because we're kind of right on the northern end of this little complex of thunderstorms that are swirling by to the south and east now. But as you can see, we're right on the northern tip of that. So some of us are seeing cooler temperatures because of it, the increased cloud cover, especially near the I-35 corridor. But the rest of us are in the 80s, and it is a bit muggy out there. So that's where we're going to be through much of the day today, partly to mostly cloudy skies and dry overall. And then this will be the last day that we see spotty shower chances for a little while before heat returns to Texoma, and it sticks around for a little while. And then could we be dealing with some tropical moisture next week? We'll break it all down in the full forecast here in just a little bit, but back to you, Kylee.
All right, thank you, Brian. An evacuation ordered after an overnight fire at the Honeygrove Nursing Center. Bonham Fire says they got called out just before midnight after smoke was noticed in the building. That turned out to be the right call, as when firefighters arrived, they found fire in the building. 45 patients and 6 staff members were moved to safety outside. About 3 hours later, air samples test showed the air inside was safe. The residents were then allowed back inside. A Calera man was flown into the hospital this morning in Bryan County after a single vehicle wreck. According to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, 38-year-old Kenneth Davis was traveling eastbound on US 70 when his tire blew out, causing him to run off the road, striking some trees. Troopers say Davis was pinned for about 45 minutes before being freed by the Bennington Fire Department, who had to use the Hearst tool. Davis was transported by air vac to a Dallas Metroplex hospital with head and arm injuries. Now, according to the report, the seatbelt was in use. And the new owners of the infamous East Coast apartment complexes have been given more time to get the building up to code. News 12's Garrett Stringfellow explains the city of Denison's current requirements for the critical safety repairs.
Back in late 2022, the East Coast apartment complex was one of 2 where residents were either left without water or electricity. They were owned by Apex East Coast Property Management, and the cost of utilities was included with the monthly rent. Not only did Apex not pay utilities on time, Denison city inspectors and residents say some apartments had mold, unsafe electrical wiring, and even collapsing floors.
It's jeopardizing the lives of the tenants here, and it's just frustrating.
The city sued Apex back in May of 2023 in an attempt to force the company to make repairs. But Apex sold the property before the lawsuit initialized. Back in November, the city of Denison agreed to a settlement with the new owner, the A.B. Sherman Holding Company, giving them a deadline of June 1st to get those repairs done and get those properties back up to code.
During the change in ownership, the new contractor and developer has been phenomenal to work with.
Denison Director of Development Services, Mary Tate, says that they've been working closely with the developers ever since that agreement.
They would provide me with updates on a regular basis, and then we sat down with them a number of times just to make sure that they were moving things along. They wanted to make sure we were comfortable with their progress.
Seeing that progress, the Denison City Council has extended the deadline another month to July 1st.
This was strictly just to make sure that we were both meeting our legal obligations, and so we needed the settlement agreement to reflect that.
I spoke with a couple of residents today at the Circle Apartments who didn't want to be on camera, but said that progress is slowly being made. We will continue to follow this story. In Denison, Garrett Stringfellow, News 12.
After 60 years, Kaiser Aluminum confirmed it is closing its Sherman facility. In a statement to News 12, the company wrote the decision came after what they describe only as business challenges at the Sherman location. The aluminum company expects to stop production on June 30th. Customers' orders will be fulfilled at other locations, while the 75 Sherman employees wait to receive their severance package.
Certainly there's a lot of history which makes something like this really more sad even than it would be otherwise. But these 75 jobs that will be lost with this closing of this plant, we are hopeful that those people will be able to find other employment here locally.
Texoma Workforce Solutions expects to hold a job fair at Kaiser before it closes. No word on future plans for the 194,000 square foot facility. Well, climate activists are taking to Citigroup in protests that they're calling the Summer of Heat on Wall Street. Protesters dressed up as orcas shout "Planet over profit" in an attempt to block Citigroup's building in Lower Manhattan today. The activists claim that the Citigroup company has contributed to $400 billion to fossil fuels in the past 8 years. In response, Citigroup publicly stated that they support a transition to low carbon economy and have a, quote, $1 trillion sustainable finance goal, end quote. Today's demonstrations are part of what could be a months-long non-violent civil disobedience campaign. And U.S. lawmakers are working to bring 4 Americans home from China after they were wounded in a stabbing attack. Roxana Sabiri reports, and I do want to warn you, this footage is graphic.
Footage verified by CBS News shows at least 3 of the injured American victims Monday. One soaked in blood on the ground in northeast China's Jilin city after the reported stabbing. The president of Cornell College in Mount Vernon, Iowa, said all 4 victims were instructors in China as part of a partnership with a university there, and that no students were involved in the program. Cornell has not released the victims' names, but said they were injured during a daytime visit to a public park while accompanied by a faculty member of the Chinese school. Iowa State Representative Adam Zabner told CBS News one of the victims is his brother, David. He said the group was visiting a local temple when they were attacked by a man with a knife, adding that David is doing okay and recovering at the hospital. 3 of the victims, including Zabner, have family in Iowa, Congresswoman Marionette Miller-Meek's district.
It's really shocking, but at the same point in time, we don't want to jump to any conclusions. We want to be able to work with the Chinese government to be able to get these people back home.
Police in Jilin confirmed this morning that a 55-year-old suspect is in custody. They say the man stabbed all 4 Americans after one of them bumped into him. The State Department told CBS News it is aware of reports about the stabbing and is monitoring the situation. Roxana Saberi, CBS News, Mount Vernon, Iowa.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken has called out Hamas and said it is time to accept a ceasefire deal to save Palestinian lives. Fox's Caroline Shively reports.
Families of the remaining Israeli hostages demanding action on Tuesday after 4 of those kidnapped were freed in this daring rescue in Gaza Saturday. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is now in the Middle East, pressuring Hamas leaders in hiding to accept a ceasefire deal that would release the last of the hostages.
Today, as we gather, one and only one thing stands in the way of this deal happening, and that's Hamas.
On Monday, the United Nations Security Council approved a resolution endorsing the ceasefire plan. A senior Hamas leader released a statement saying, "The resolution contains points we do not accept, but its main aspects are positive." There are also reports that the U.S. is considering bypassing Israel and negotiating directly with Hamas for the release of American hostages.
We have to be very concerned, though, that if the United States is going to negotiate separately with Hamas, whether it's going to increase the price of the release of the rest of the hostages. It's creating a different category of hostages, those who have American passports, those who don't have American passports.
U.S. officials would not comment on whether there are separate negotiations, but parents of those Americans say they welcome any talks that bring their loved ones home. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Thank you for watching today's News 12 Now. Make sure to subscribe so you find out why Texoma turns to us. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, where you'll see more social media exclusive content. Want more News 12 Now? Watch us live every weekday through the KXII app on your phone or TV and through our website.